Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Monster Hunter World for the PC. Yes, I finally got to play it. As a matter of fact, we have it running right now on my rig, which is not a super powerful rig, mind you, so keep those things in mind when I swap back and forth between gameplay footage. But anyway, in this particular video, we're going to be focusing mostly on the PC settings. I'm going to be going over all of the graphic options that you guys are going to have, because I know that that is something that a lot of people are interested in. If you guys want to know my actual opinion on Monster Hunter World, the game, I did a video talking about that when I reached the 200 hours over on console. Just to give you guys some more context, at this point, I'm about 1,000 hours into the console version, and I don't see myself stopping anytime soon because the game is just that good. It is one of my favorite games of all time, if not my actual favorite game of all time. I would, however, advise you guys to check out the video that I did at the 200 hour mark, because that explains what this game is actually about, and that is very important before you take the plunge into Monster Hunter World. Because just because this is one of the best games of all times to me, it doesn't mean that is the same thing to everyone out there in the world. So keep those things in mind. Anyways, let's get started, and I know that you guys are going to want to talk about visuals, because that's like a really big thing when it comes to PC. You guys are going to want to know what's the limitation, what's all that stuff. So I'm just going to go right into the display and tell you guys all the things that you can do. So naturally, there's a brightness thing so that you can adjust your brightness. I'm not really going to touch that thing. You have screen mode. In screen mode, you can go into borderless window. This is particularly important for streamers. Usually, you guys like to use borderless window, although I guess anybody nowadays likes to use borderless window because that's just the thing. You can also go into an actual windowed mode. You also have full screen, so there's all of the standard options that you have in here. In terms of resolution, in my setup, it is going to cap out at 1920 by 1080, because the way that I have my my setup right now, it is capped at that because my capture card can only do 1080, but if your monitor supports a higher resolution, this thing will go all the way up to 4K, so have no problems there. Then when it comes to frame rate, I think some people misunderstood me when I said in my previous video that the recommended specs was that you needed a GTX 1060 in order to run the game at 1080 30 FPS. And I think a lot of people took that particular sentence to mean that the game was capped at 30 FPS. That's not what I meant. That what I meant is that is the kind of performance that you can expect at maximum settings with a GTX 1060, because that is what they typed themselves in the system requirements, not me. Capcom typed this out, so that's the information that I conveyed to you. I never said that the game was capped at 30, and it wouldn't even make sense because you can actually run it at 60 on the PlayStation 4 Pro, as well as the Xbox One X, I would assume. So anyways, you can cap this at 30 if you want to, or you can cap it at 60 if you want to, or you can just say no limit and Bob's your uncle. So long as your rig can handle all of this, you're fine, okay? You also naturally have VSync on here if you want to turn that on or off. I don't know how it works out with G-Sync, because I don't really have any monitors that support G-Sync. I'm sorry! I know that I'm not master race enough. I'm sorry, okay? I'm not a rich bastard. I'd love to have more money and have a better rig, but I can't. Anyways, moving onwards, you have a couple of defaults here that you can go to. It goes from high to highest and all that stuff. But anyway, if you go into highest, and then you can go into advanced graphic settings where you can actually tweak every little thing. You got resolution scaling. You got texture quality. And the good thing about resolution scaling here is that, say for instance, you don't have a beefy rig. Okay, now in my case, on the rig that I'm running this on, I'm running a GTX 970. Like I said, I'd like to have a better one, but crypto miners keep driving the friggin' GPU prices up, those damn bastards, so therefore I can't afford a better GPU. But anyways, I can run this on high, but I will have to tweak some of the other settings. But the good thing is, if you don't have the best of rigs, what this actually does is you can actually set resolution scaling to variable, in which you can prioritize resolution to always have the best resolution possible. Or you can prioritize frame rate, and it will dynamically reduce the resolution to keep you running at a good frame rate. And this, in my opinion, is super valuable because not everyone can afford a super beefy rig. So having variable resolution scaling is, in my opinion, a feature that I appreciate a whole lot. Now we're going to leave this on high. Then texture quality, you can tweak that out. You can mess about with this if you want to. You got ambient occlusion, which you can turn off if that's not something that you don't like. You got volume rendering quality. Now, for my rig, I'm actually going to tone this down a little bit. I'm going to put it down to variable because my rig struggles, man. It struggles. The struggle is real. Then we got shadow quality, which you can put it down if you want to. I think I can run this on high and still get close to 60 FPS. Anti-aliasing, you have TAA, FXAA, or you can turn it off. Now, in my case, I'm going to go with FXAA because it doesn't require as much from your rig as TAA, although you can go TAA if that's what you want. You got LOD bias, which I don't even know what the hell this thing is. You got maximum LOD level, no limit, -1, whatever. LOD bias, we're going to put that on, I'm going to leave that on high. You got foliage sways, so this is naturally whether or not the foliage sways back and forth with the wind. We're going to leave that on. Subsurface scattering, turn it on or off. Screen space reflection, anisotropic filtering, water reflection, SH diffuse quality, dynamic range. I'm actually going to put that at 64-bit, and Z prepass. So you got a whole lot of settings to tweak here, and I know that you guys care about this stuff, which is why I wanted to show you every single thing. Now, these are the settings that I plan on playing as. Like I said, the only thing that I really swapped around from maximum is variable volume rendering quality and anti-aliasing down to FXAA, and it usually, like I said, runs close to 60 FPS. My monitor doesn't really do more than 60 anyways, and I can't live stream more than 60 anyways, so it's not going to make that much of a difference with that stuff. Now, the other thing that people are going to be wondering about PC is, for starters, does the game look good, though? It looks fantastic. The game looks amazing, in my opinion. It looks even better than it did on my PlayStation 4 Pro, and even there, it already looked really good, okay? And in my opinion, if you're wondering, like, should I go for maximum visual settings, or should I actually go for, you know, more performance? I would advise you guys to go for the performance settings, because to me, that is more important in a Monster Hunter game than necessarily visual fidelity, but to each his own. That's going to be your own personal decision to make. Anyways, moving onwards, if you are playing on headphones, you will be able to go ahead. I would go for maximum range on the sounds, because the sounds do get really good, especially that 3D audio, super, super nice. Like, try it out. Put your stuff to headphones and then change dynamic range and 3D audio. Make that that way, because it's real sweet. Then you actually have multiple languages with this game. I always forget that in order to go back, you have to right-click. It's weird. You don't press escape to go back, you right-click. And we'll talk about the controls as well. But anyways, on language settings, you actually have quite a few options for text and even for audio. There's even a Monster Hunter language, if you're into that stuff, which is pretty cool. You got subtitles, all that stuff. But most importantly, I think, is going to be that some people are going to want to play with keyboard and mouse. And you guys are going to want to ask me, Rurikhan, what is the keyboard and mouse experience like? Now, for me personally, I've always played Monster Hunter games with a gamepad. So I'm going to be spending most of my time with the gamepad. But having said that, it's not like this is some Dark Souls level port that we've gotten on the very first port of Dark Souls that we had on the PC was basically unplayable with mouse and keyboard, okay? You can say that, I played it with mouse and keyboard, and it's like, well, you know, I could go to Japan and take a detour through, I don't know, some place that is unrelated. Like, I could go to Japan and take a detour through America. That doesn't make it good, does it? Because I'm in Portugal. Maybe that didn't make a lot of sense for some of you guys, but whatever. What I'm trying to say is that just because you could play Dark Souls when it originally came out on PC with mouse and keyboard, it doesn't mean that was the best experience or the most efficient way of playing that game, okay? Now, when it comes to Monster Hunter World, it is super solid, okay? Now, the default controls, however, are not the best in my opinion, particularly for ranged weapons. Like, I tried playing with ranged weapons, and to give you guys an idea here, in order to aim with your ranged weapon, you have to press C or V, which is weird because you guys are gonna be like, why wouldn't you just use right mouse click? And I know, as someone that plays with a controller, I know the logic as to why they have the default controls like this, but it's not very intuitive in my opinion, and I would highly advise you guys to come over here and swap this out so that it becomes a little better for you. Personally, I'm not sure if I want to do mouse and keyboard for ranged weapons specifically. Like, it is much better. You get a lot more precision. I played a little bit around with that and feels really good. But ultimately, like I said, it's weird coming from the controller and swapping it over to mouse and keyboard, it's a little bit weird. But like I said, they provide you with all of the options that you could possibly want. And this is a really good thing and a very important thing too. Like, you'll notice that there is a setting for menu navigation, a setting for melee weapons, and a setting for ranged weapons. Now, if you've never played a Monster Hunter game before, you're not gonna understand why do you need like all of these things. But trust me, once you start playing the game, you will understand that if you want to use mouse and keyboard, you're gonna wanna use different controls for melee and ranged, okay? Because you might wanna use left click for melee attacks and then right click for heavy melee attacks, but then on ranged weapons, you'll definitely want to swap that around. Potentially, I'm assuming right click for aiming and left click for shooting, which again, it's going to make sense once you actually play the game. But what I can tell you is that Capcom did a really good job of allowing you to basically customize your controls to your heart's content, which is pretty damn sweet. Now, I'm going to be live streaming this game. If you guys have more questions, you can join me up on Twitch whenever I'm live streaming, and I will answer any question that you might have either about Monster Hunter World as a game or about Monster Hunter World, the PC version, so that if you guys are hesitant about anything, feel free to go over there, ask me, or even ask it in the comment sections here. I read all of my comments all the time, so I will try to answer as many questions as you might have. Now, not everything is super amazing. So there are a lot of really good things here, like I said, with the resolution and the performance options and all of that stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing more people testing it out with beefier rigs and weaker rigs and see what the results are. In my case, I'm okay, because like I reduce 1 or 2 graphical settings and I can pretty much play the game fine. But I'm curious to see how it's going to be for other people. But anyways, the other thing that I found to be a little bit annoying is the fact that, as we all know, this game does have the Denuvo copyright protection or anti-piracy protection, whatever they call that. And I came up with a bit of a problem regarding that, because the very first time I heard about it, people were saying that this was probably going to prevent you from playing the game offline. And while it technically doesn't prevent you from playing Monster Hunter World offline, it prevents you from starting Monster Hunter World offline. So that means even if you go to Steam and you put Steam in offline mode, you cannot start the game. It will not let you. The game starts running and then it shuts down instantly because it can't contact the Denuvo servers or whatever. Then I tried putting Steam back to online mode, and I manually disconnected like my the LAN adapter of my computer, the LAN card. I disconnected that, and basically the game still couldn't contact the Denuvo servers, so therefore you still couldn't launch the game. So even if you put Steam to offline, that doesn't work. If you don't have an internet connection active at the time, you cannot start the game. However, if you have an internet connection, you can start the game, and then if your internet connection dies out or something, halfway while you're playing, the game will not kick you out. The game will just say, oh, you lost connection to our servers, so you can't play multiplayer, but the game will allow you to continue to play the game in single player mode. So you just need to have an internet connection to start the game, but after that you can turn off your internet and the game will run. But it still is a bit of an annoyance, because just imagine, like, for whatever reason, your ISP is like, oh, we're doing maintenance today. Oh, crap, I guess I can't boot up Monster Hunter World. Which is really disappointing when it comes to Denuvo. And I hope that maybe they patch some of this stuff out. I think there's going to be a bit of a community outcry about that stuff when people start realizing this en masse. But ultimately, like I said, you guys, you need to understand, the game itself is definitely worth it. I cannot recommend this game enough, okay? So hopefully they will patch out Denuvo over time. That is just my opinion. I don't want to delve too much into Denuvo or Steam or any of that stuff, because we saw how that worked out in the last video. But ultimately, it looks pretty good. I'm going to be live streaming it. If you have questions, come over, twitch.tv/Rurikhan. Come hang out. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you guys like my videos, click the subscribe button and then click the bell icon so that you're actually notified of future uploads. There'll be 2 video suggestions right about now on your screen that you guys can go check out. Otherwise, once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.